There was big news, embarrassing news about Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican henchmen this week. But if you take a step back, it's not only big on its own, but it also reveals a dirty little secret Republicans are praying we won't notice. So as you watch this, see if you can figure out what that dirty little secret is. And by the way, since we're going to be busting them on it, the Trump team would hate it if you commented on this video and shared it right now so that a lot more people see it. They would really hate that. Here's that bit of news that just came out.
The stunning revelation overnight that one of the informants relied on by House Republicans said he was given information by the Russians, information that prosecutors say is false.
FBI informant Alexander Smirnoff's testimony of the FBI and DOJ saying that he essentially made all of that up, and that could be the source of Russian disinformation.
The FBI informant charged with lying about President Biden and his son Hunter has just been arrested a second time. We're talking about Alexander Smirnoff.
So basically, for more than a year, Republicans have been desperately trying to do Donald Trump's bidding by concocting some kind of evidence against Joe Biden. They found nothing. Nothing. The only hint they could invent was an FBI informant who claimed that he heard something bad might have happened, and lo and behold, yep, the guy with the word smear right on his name turns out to have been making up a James Bond fantasy based on Russian intelligence disinformation. In fact, here's Smirnoff right in the middle of that fantasy. By the way, the funniest part of all of this, but also a really critical point to notice, is just how hard all of Trump's MAGA henchmen were relying on this, leaning into it, praising it.
You have the confidential FBI informant.
The informant was a highly valued human source for the FBI.
A trusted, highly credible informant.
A trusted, confidential informant.
They had a credible source, one of their good sources.
Their most credible paid FBI informant.
We have determined that whistleblower is extremely credible.
And then here's the head of their investigation, James Comer, reacting right after the news came out.
At the end of the day, he wasn't an important part of this investigation because I didn't even know who he was.
Translation? But it didn't matter at that point. The damage had been done. All of this gets to that dirty little secret. You ready for it? Here it is. Every time Donald Trump and his mouthpieces say anything about his crimes or try to attack Joe Biden, it's always Russian disinformation. Always. They launder it through the Republican Party, repeat it, knock it into our brains, and then when it gets exposed, it's all applesauce, remove on to the next scam. Do you remember the John Durham investigation that the Trump team cooked up that was supposedly about the origins of the Russia connection to Donald Trump? But it was actually about just trying to muddy the waters because they knew Donald Trump was guilty as hell. Do you remember how that turned out?
The Times reports that after nearly 4 years, Durham's work is coming to an end without uncovering anything like the deep state plot alleged by former President Trump and suspected by Bill Barr. What the Times did find, the Durham probe became, quote, roiled by internal dissent and ethical disputes as it went unsuccessfully down one path after another.
They went through the CIA's files, chasing conspiracy theories, and just came up with nothing.
Just like in this impeachment inquiry and the Smirnoff whistleblower story, it turned out to be total vapor, laundering Russian disinformation. When Donald Trump made his famous call to Vladimir Zelensky to try to extort an investigation into Joe Biden out of him, remember the whole thing he got impeached for? It was all based on Russian disinformation. Shoot, from the very beginning, the entire Trump campaign in 2016 was built on active assistance and interference from his Russian comrades.
The thing we always forget to talk about, which is just how insidious and well organized the Russians were in screwing with the 2016 election. The Mueller report makes it clear that this effort was designed to benefit Donald Trump through Russian social media campaigns and a hacking campaign that stole documents.
And yet, when the Durham report finally came out, the one that had fallen apart and found no evidence for the Trump cover story, but still tried to repeat the Trump lie that all of his ties to Russia were fake.
Russia is fake news. This is fake news.
What happened? The mainstream media not only reported it as straight news, they repeated the report's key lie. The Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, PBS, CBS, NBC, and of course, not surprisingly, CNN may have been the dumbest. Of course, you had Fox News operating as a full-time propaganda mill for a lie that had already been exposed.
Yeah, it is outrageous that this happened. It is arguably worse than Watergate.
They stole 4 years of a presidency.
That's the dirty little secret. They do this over and over. The media falls for it over and over. Even when they're reporting on a piece of Russian disinformation blowing up in Republican faces, they still give airtime to the Republicans doubling down on their own bullshit. Here's the CNN story that I showed you at the top of the video. What I didn't show you is that they give a platform for the Republicans to repeat their Russian talking points even after they've been exposed.
Alexander Smirnoff is proven to have made it up, and it was based off Russian intelligence.
Doesn't change the four fundamental facts. Hunter Biden was put on the board of Burisma, gets paid $1 million a year. Fact number 2, he's not qualified to be on the board. Fact number 3, Zolochevsky and Pizarski, the 2 executives at Burisma. Fact number 4, Joe Biden. It doesn't change those fundamental facts.
A lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth even gets its pants on. The Trump-Russia Republican cabal, once again, has been caught with their butts hanging out. And they don't care, because from their perspective, they're just mooning all of us.